Okay, here's a very first-hand look at the new Worker Nightingale 2.0. So the Worker Nightingale 2.0 is basically the same thing as the 1.0, but in a sci-fi shell. And the 2.0 does have all of the metal bits already installed, so you do have some like kind of included upgrades already. Makes it feel a little heavier, heftier, kind of like gives it more substance to it and a more sci-fi feel. But otherwise, it's about the same thing as a Nightingale 1.0. The magazines are the same magazines that we've seen, the slim mini Talons. They do come with this little plastic bumper though, which can be nifty. You know, it adds that aesthetic to it, and they're swappable to other mini Talon magazines, or Nightingale magazines as they're called. But overall, the Nightingale, this is the full auto version, but there's also a semi-auto version, just like the 2.0 or the 1.0 has a semi and a full auto version. And if you look, we have, you know, slightly skinnier in the back, but overall a little bit longer, just a hair. It does have a bigger battery tray. You can see that the battery goes in the same spot, just underneath the muzzle there. So you do have a larger battery tray area. It uses the same hex key to access that tray area though. So if you look, it's got a bigger battery area there. Can't really tell. Slightly bigger. So that's nice if you have larger batteries, get longer life out of it. The interesting thing though that people are saying is what's the performance like? You know, 3S or 4S. It turns out that on 4S you get worse performance than on 3S because the wheels are spinning faster than they can properly function. Probably the faster they go, the more wobble they have, and therefore you're losing some contact with the darts. So you get about 120 feet per second out of the box. On 2S, you can get closer to 115, under that 120 cap for those who need to be shooting under 120. So a 2S on the Nightingale 2.0 is an option, so you get the sci-fi look, a new platform, but overall it is the same thing as a 1.0. So this might be Worker's very first flop, I guess, as far as advertised and expected versus received, because you do not get better performance at all out of the 2.0 over the 1.0, and the 1.0 is lighter, it is a little skinnier without the rails, and it is also cheaper, I believe, and it weighs less. And so really the 2.0, you're not really gaining anything very much unless you like that sci-fi feel, and you do get the fancy little mag bumper there. So we got a chronograph here in feet per second mode. Same darts that it came with, Gen 3 heavyweights on 3S. 122. 117. And we'll do an accuracy here. Just gonna do a burst at the mannequin. It's about 50 feet. You can see how much those dropped. Did a 4S, same performance, same 120 FPS. It's almost like the wheels are spinning too fast and you lost accuracy, didn't gain any power, and you gain a lot of sound. But we do have one of each color here. We got the tacky, the dark gray, and the green with the orange tips, and then we also have a white and a purple, I believe. So you get a variety of color options, which is nice. And they do have a dedicated 2.0 holster and some attachments for it that you could probably use with other blasters as well. So the line itself has come out with a handful of other things along with it, which might be interesting to look at. But overall, the 2.0 is a mini angled Talon mag and handle semi, this one's or full auto flywheel blaster. That I really wouldn't even say it can use a 4S, so it's a 3S blaster, but even then, the Nightingale itself, you still have some of the problems of running it for too long, revving too long with the 3S, it will die. You know, the motors and the wheels will wear out. So it's mostly a 2S or a 3S secondary, and not designed to be an extended use secondary. That's the Nightingale 2.0. Let us know what you think. This video is weird because it's kind of like the first time ever reviewing a blaster that I did not like, and like I honestly can say like no, I don't like it. There's been a couple of blasters that I had similar feelings to, but I know that was a personal preference thing. This one itself is just really just HVZ sci-fi secondary, and that's it, which could be right for you. Now that I think about it, if you're gonna run a 2S in this and run it in an HVZ, this is probably definitely, I'd say, the go-to blaster for a really low cap event, because it's semi-auto or full auto, so you get the best of both worlds. It's small and it's quick to draw. I remember doing HVZs and being a zombie and trying to tag people. This guy has really quick
A fairly quick response time. It is a half pull turns it on and a full pull fire, so it's a little slow, but even then, not on a full pull, you can still get a weaker power shot, but still make contact with their target if they're coming after you like a zombie. So close range secondary Nightingale is a really good option, and the price is pretty low compared to some of the other options out there that are usually overbuilt or overpowered for what you need in a secondary. So close range, suppressive fire, medium capacity, get a secondary. The Nightingale is still a really good secondary, and this one comes with all the rails for optional look. So it's a nicer looking secondary with an interesting meat tenderizer front muzzle look. But there you go. Same colors as the Seagull, which means you do have more color options than the standard Nightingale. Nightingale 2.0, I'm gonna run all of these in the vent, put them through its paces and see how they fare. They do have the same high quality build quality that we've been seeing from Worker, and they do have that newer kind of sand blasted feel to the shell as well. Some sturdier shell than a regular Nightingale. Not that that was a failing of the Nightingale, but overall it looks like they smoothed out some geometry, increased the production quality, and I could see this replacing the 1.0 as far as overall, same typical format. Although I did notice that it seemed like out of the box, a 3S Nightingale 2.0 was louder than a 3S Nightingale 1.0. So I mean, longevity-wise, it almost feels like the 1.0 would actually be better under the hood at running reliably, consistently on 3S for a period of time. It seems like the 2.0 out of the box is just really loud compared to the 1.0. It might be my batch, but I did test 3 of them out of the box and they were all the same decibel level. I know somebody actually measured the decibel level and said they were similar, but honestly, a used Nightingale has a lot higher decibel level than a brand new Nightingale, whereas a Nightingale 2.0 had a high decibel level right out of the box, equivalent to a used Nightingale. So maybe at the end of the day, they would be the same. But that sci-fi, if you're shooting 2S only, under 120 FPS, that would actually be a viable option. So a dedicated 2S secondary to run close range HVZ for a good price point. But unless a lot of people ask, I probably won't be stocking the 2.0 because it just doesn't seem to be something. I mean, the 1.0 didn't have a ton of problems other than they do wear out. We have had people mention that, the 1.0 just dies on them over time, and the same thing could probably happen with the 2.0. So this is pretty much brand new out of the box. We have the a normal 3S LiPo here. This is pretty much fully charged. That's so loud. That definitely sounds like a really heavily used, to the point of ought to consider not using it, Nightingale 1.0. You can hear the rate of fire there, the click, 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 click. So same pretty good rate of fire. And this is a heavily used 1.0. You can see it's actually way quieter still. It's a higher pitched sound, but it sounds healthier for a flywheeler than this one does. Yeah, and this is the recommended 3S LiPo, the same ADC LiPo that their rep recommended to me. This one's also pretty much fully charged. I haven't ran a 4S and a 1.0 yet, but definitely you can tell. Like that, that's basically overvolted, gonna blow up on you any second, Nightingale. And here's 1.0. Way better. So yeah, I don't know, I mean, it got 6 lemons here, one of every color, but 1.0 seems to be better under the hood. You tell us. They might have used their higher RPM 132 motors with the same flywheels, but a faster motor on an unbalanced flywheel is just gonna sound worse, and because of that, it's gonna wear out your motor and heat up and basically wear out your blaster and break your blaster faster than a slower RPM, better balanced motor. And this is the high power 1.0 and the high power 2.0, which hit about the same FPS. So they kind of like drew this up. It seems like they drew this up on paper. It sounded good, put it together, and it didn't because they didn't consider enough factors, I guess. But there you go. Again, maybe on a 2S. I don't know if I have a 2S battery right now. I found a 2S. All right. That's usable. Yeah, so definitely a much better 2S than a 3S blaster, because that sounds safe. You probably can't tell in the video, but that sounds like it's not spitting to the point of it's gonna break itself. That rate of fire is pretty decent too. Normal operating is 7.4 and it's like 8.1, so it's pretty much almost at its peak fully charged 2S. So yeah, Nightingale is the first ever worker flop slash Sci-Fi HVZ 2S 115 FPS primary or secondary.